Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we watched Space Race, an episode in which Stephen decides to do a nice thing for Pearl by helping her visit space, something she clearly longs for and misses. And then we get our first visit from Anti-Crazy Pearl, who is a character we will see every so often as the show goes forward. Every now and then Pearl just loses her mind for a bit. It's always fascinating to watch. She takes it a bit too far, endangers Stephen's life, and then obviously regrets her choices, and then we all learn a valuable lesson about not encouraging Anti-Crazy Pearl to visit. I mean, she is crazy.
Fair.
I mean, these are the actions of a very erratic and unstable person.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, Chris. What do you think?
I thought it was good. I thought it was nice that they're not shying away from going mythology, from us seeing that, because obviously it sort of leads quite nicely on from the Mirror Gem, Ocean Gem saga.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to sneeze in a sec, so we're going to power through and see what happens there.
If you want, I can say something very quickly while you potentially handle
something.
that. It's what's interesting. You may have noticed here is at the beginning of the episode when it first comes up and they're checking these warp pads. These are interdimensional warp pads, and they're all broken. They refer to different planets, and they talk about a gem homeworld, and specifically they use that exact word, homeworld. Can I just say, buddy, you freaked me the fuck out when we talked about Ocean Gem when you referred to a homeworld. I was like, how would you know to use that precise word to describe the gem's home planet? I know it is probably the most apt term for it, but that was the logic. That is the term the show coins for it and refers to it as going forward. So the fact,
really?
The fact that you didn't call it like, the gem home planet or just the gem planet or whatever you wanted to describe it as.
Right, yeah.
The gem base,
planet
whatever.
Gem. Yeah.
You specifically use the words homeworld, which is how they refer. And that really, when you said that, I didn't want to say, well, yeah, that's exactly how they refer to it going forward. Until obviously they used the word in this episode, and I was like, okay, I think I'm safe because they're clearly now confirming.
Yeah, but I just think that's the logical term for it. Yeah, there was no
100%
didn't even realise that was a thing.
Well, maybe I'm just like, because it's a word that comes up a lot, like in the show going forward. The idea that you hit on that before the show did was just weird to me. So I wanted to bring that up now that I safely can. Anyway, opinions.
I thought it was a good look into Pearl's character. I thought that was interesting. I thought the Anti-Crazy Pearl, I got the impression, I didn't think too much of it because it's clearly forced by this sort of desire to go home.
Absolutely.
I thought it was the oddly nice dynamic to see Pearl, his dad, and him interact.
Yep.
That was quite a nice little... There's the sneeze.
See, that's why I gave you some space and gibbered for a minute to let that come through. And then when you got to talk, it comes through then.
How do you know what I mean? I can't be like, come on now, body.
No, I know. No. I'm not criticising your bodily functions.
I don't have pepper to hand, Dad.
It wasn't an accusation. It was more like an observation that it was like, typical sneeze comes through when it's not wanted. I wasn't suggesting you had held it off or your body had gone, well, fuck this guy.
I presume that due to last week's big rock thing, that's why they didn't even go down the should Stephen try and fix these launch pads route, which is fair enough. But I was thinking it, so I suppose some of the audience might be thinking it.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. You know what? I'll be honest with you. That literally never occurred to me. But you're right. Because here's the thing. Prior to last week's episode, you wouldn't question it because Stephen had only shown a propensity to sort of heal, I want to say living things, gems, people, not an inanimate object of sorts. And last week's big rock thing that they wanted him to cure, I don't think that was a gem. I don't think that, and it certainly wasn't a person. So, his ability to repair clearly goes a little bit further or deeper than we thought. So the idea that they didn't see if he could repair the warp pads, you're right.
But it's probably what we talked about last week. Like, you don't want every week there to be a moment where it's like, you don't want it to become Des Ex Stephen licks things and they're fixed.
100%.
But it's so close to that storyline.
You'd wonder why he didn't even try.
Yeah. That I was surprised there wasn't even a. And for a second I thought they were going to be fixed because I thought I got the impression, I was wrong clearly, that he was almost licking these stickers on, like the way you'd like lick an envelope.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, are they going to accidentally heal? Is this where this is going? But instead, it went down they build a spaceship tact, which is fine. Like, that was entertaining.
Yeah.
I just thought it was it wasn't, I don't think there was anything as kind of heart wrenching as the stuff with his dad last week. But I thought the fact that we got a little tease of some mythology, and the fact that we saw some good chemistry between those three characters, it's nice. Friends and How I Met Your Mother would do it quite well occasionally. Modern Family doesn't need to do it. It's nice when you see, for example, Rachel and Chandler have an episode together, because they rarely have episodes together. Or you see Barney and Lily going off on an adventure, just the two of them. I think the only show that has a lot of characters and no combination makes you go, oh, we don't see that combination often, is Modern Family. They're very good at mixing it up.
They mix it up so much nice. So that it becomes like, it doesn't become it becomes we've seen this 100 times. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Whereas we've not really seen this particular combination, and I thought it was quite effective as a result. We've not really seen, even if it was just Steven and Pearl, I'd be like, oh, cool, it's just the two of them. Like, just a double hander, or in this case, a triple hander, is quite nice.
Well, what's interesting about that is actually one of my all-time favourite episodes of this show. Like, if you were to ask me to name like my top couple, there's an episode, I'm not going to name it because I don't want to give away before you get to it, but there's an episode that involves that particular combination of three, that is absolutely one of my all-time favourites. So it's interesting that you would pinpoint that combination of people. I thought.
Can I?
Go on.
Can I just say as well? I'm also glad when I thought they were going to lick the things and they were going to be healed and they were going to space, and when the episode's called Space Race, I was like, shit, are we going to see that other evil Green Power Ranger gem already? Lapis. Like one episode later. So I'm glad that we didn't.
Yeah, it would have been a bit soon to do that, wouldn't it? Especially for a show that's shown an enormous amount of patience in the way it's developed its storylines.
Yes.
It didn't.
Yeah, it would have been really weird.
It didn't get to Lapis until like episode 25. So it would have been strange for 2 episodes later for them to be like, "She's back."
I'm glad. I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Yeah. It's a good one. This one with the Aunt Crazy Pearl. I just mean like when she gets like that obsessive about something, she sort of. It's always justified. The show does a really good job of making her seem crazy, but. Like, you always understand where she's coming from. So in those episodes when Aunt Crazy Pearl comes to town, you always get it. I've never gone, that's out of character. It totally fits. So even though I was making like little, gags about it early on, they are just that, little jokey, like me sort of poking fun at it because it is kind of amusing. But at the same time, though, the show it's never a criticism because the show always justifies it. I thought this one had a really surprisingly high quantity of like jokes per minute. Like, I cannot tell you how much I laughed this week. Like, when they were first talking about doing the spaceship and Greg says, how hurt could we get? And then when Steven jumps out of it the first time and he's like, no shame! And then when Pearl says, I think your calculations were off. And Greg replies, can't be off if you don't do any.
Yeah.
And then when Greg grounds Steven, and Steven replies, man, stupid company bylaws. Pearl's like, who made him CEO? And Steven's like, I did. Like, there's just so many. Go on.
What I loved about the CEO one was there was like, even the way Steven reacts, it genuinely makes you feel like they had a full conversation or meeting about it.
Yeah.
Like, who should be the CEO?
Yeah.
I just say, I think it's the Greg thing, because obviously we've had 2 episodes in a row of Greg, and the 2 episodes which aired together, I assume. Well, no, that's
I can't decide if at this point they stopped doing that. I'd have to look into it because there was a point in which the 2 a time they kept that format, but they would do an old episode with a new one. So we only ever got one new episode.
There's no title sequence, so I assume. But I think it's interesting. Do they bring? If you can answer this, or this is a little theory. I don't do theories, Dan. This is a theory.
Oh, good.
Can we give a theory?
We like a theory. Yeah.
Love a theory. My theory is that as Steven becomes more used to gem culture and gem stuff, we don't have an obvious voice that is confused by the world and asks questions or makes humorous observations on it. I.e., in Doctor Who, you have to have a companion because someone's got to explain the plot, and therefore someone's got to ask the Doctor what's going on. You need to these kind of stories. Fringe had Peter in the early seasons, Lincoln in the later seasons. You've got to have a character you've got to have a character that represents the audience. As Stephen learns more and becomes more adaptable and used to this sort of stuff, I get the feeling that we're going to see his dad more because his dad can be that character for the audience. So that's a theory.
I think that is a
or actually, sorry to interject, or more side characters appearing, Connie, Onion, whoever. Potentially, I think his dad is the best choice because you've got a lot of heart there.
Onion would be an odd choice because I don't think Onion would ever care or ask questions. I know what you're getting at, but Onion's a really weird pull.
It could be other side characters, but I think the dad is the logical choice.
Now I've got this image in my head of Onion travelling around with the Doctor.
The
Doctor steps out the TARDIS, Onion in tow, and he goes, and here we are on planet Zaxis, the only planet that was born inside of a black hole. And then Onion just sort of like steals a piece of technology and just runs back into the TARDIS. The Doctor's like, I really need to choose them better. This is...
You know what's weird, man?
Go
on. I might be wrong, but I'm like right now we are in recording this. We are in the heart of who's going to be the new Doctor. By the time this goes out, I suspect that will be known.
100% it will be known.
Do you want to say who's up? Do you want to say who our money's on? Because you said this first, so this should be.
It'll be weird though because I think this is going to be announced within a week of us doing this, and this won't. I don't think this goes out until September. So if people are listening to this in September, the guy's filming in November, the first Chibnall series. So we'll definitely know 100% know who it is by this point. What is it? It's Tom. Oh God, I've forgotten
Rosenthal.
Rosenbaum.
No, I think it's Rosenthal. I might be wrong.
It's one of those moments.
Yeah, that's our bet. So we're happy to look stupid,
Rosenthal.
But that's our bet.
Yeah, we think it's going to be him. Yeah, and I potentially think it'll be announced next week. This is a different discussion. We're talking about Doctor Who now. Anyway, back to Steven Universe.
No, I just think it's cool. Like they'll know.
They will know. The people listening to this in the future already know. I think that this is a particularly good episode for me because I do think that like when you manage to get it's just nice I think to get away sometimes from the really heavy drama. Like this has a little bit of obviously drama, and the fact that essentially Pearl nearly gets Stephen killed is pretty. Obviously, you consider that quite heavy. But considering some of the places this show has been, that's actually this episode on the whole is quite a nice, light-hearted sort of step away from the.
I think it's more than that. I think it's the. Sorry to interrupt you. I think it's the show in recent episodes has sort of really found its feet. It's found its tone. It's not got the more crazy tone of some of the early episodes. It's sort of leveled. Mm-hmm. And I think this is, whilst we get a little hint of mythology, this is the best example of a non-story arc episode that this show, this is one of the, I don't mean bog standard as an insult, but this is some bog standard Steven Universe, and you need that, especially after a two-part story arc, two-parter, and a character piece. Not every episode can be a character piece. Not every episode can be story arc. So you need to throw those bog standard episodes in there, and this is an enjoyable version of that.
Yeah, I know, 100% agree. I think you're right. I think this is certainly a very strong this is like when you say, but I think this is like Steven Universe at its like. Just its default level, if that makes sense. Like just like it's
which
totally
I don't
enjoyable.
mean as an insult.
No, nor do I. I genuinely mean it as a compliment. This is the show at its like found its level. It's funny. There's still a little bit of drama. We get a little bit of insight into the characters. There's a hint of mythology. Like it's got a little bit of everything. It doesn't lean into anything. It's a nice all round episode. That's I think a better way to describe it actually. rather than sort of books that are just like, this is a nice all-rounder where it's got a little bit of all the stuff you like about the show. So it's not leaning into the character drama like last week. It's not leaning into the mythology like the week before. It's not leaning into the comedy like maybe I'm trying to think of an episode that was purely comedy, but none immediately hits me. But I think it's very rare actually an episode of this show is pure comedy. But if that makes sense, they always try to slip something else in. But I think you're right when you say that then, because I think what you're essentially, I think the root of what you're saying is that it's a perfectly well-rounded episode. So yeah, I don't know if I've got much else to say about it. You got anything else you want to like?
No, I'm done.
Yeah, and any thoughts about the warp pads and do you think they'll come back? Do you think how do you think the things are going to play out going forward with those?
I think they'll come back at some point. If I was guessing, maybe Green Power Ranger gem fixes them.
You will need to learn her. You will need to learn her name.
I mean, only to appease your anger
and she's blue as well. So saying green all the time confuses me. Every time you say green, I'm like, wait, who? Oh yeah, Lapis.
Sometimes life is confusing, Dan. I think maybe they'll be fixed by her and used in that story. I think they're coming back. I think that much is clear.
Yeah, I when you said that thing about sometimes life is confusing, Dan, I think I just imagined you putting your sunglasses on in a sort of CSI way, like Zinger glasses. Like, do you know what I mean?
That'd be for no one's benefit but my own.
Yeah, of course. And then it's that like that, that sting, like the Who song. Anyway. That is, I guess, then everything for this week, Chris.
Yeah, man.
So I'll leave that with you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week. I've forgotten what the next episode's called off the top of my head. Do you remember, Chris?
No.
Oh man, I feel bad now because we usually say what the next episode is. Should I look it up quickly? Should I quickly look it up? I've got a little tab with all the episode listings somewhere. Right. So what was that? It was Space Race, yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. All right. So we'll see you. Oh, there's tell a lie actually, Chris. When the people listen to this, it'll be August.
Oh,
because of our accelerated timescale. So we'll see you next week on what I think, if I've calculated this correctly, will be the 18th of August for an episode titled Secret Team. Oh, we didn't do the names. Does it matter? No.
What names?
Like, I didn't go, I'm Dan Doolan.
Oh, okay. We'll do that now.
Because we're suckers for tradition.
Yeah.
Okay. What I love about this, by the way, can I just point this out for listeners? When we start doing that we've been doing that on our other podcast for a long time. A long, long time. You know that I've been Dan Doolan, I've been Chris Billingham thing. But on Steven Universe, we were determined at the beginning not to have that as the ending. And we tried different things and nothing really worked. Then we tried the awkward endings for a bit and that didn't work. And then one week we just did that. Without thought. But when you've never done it before, that must have been so weird. After all of the weird endings and all the awkward endings, for us to suddenly just be like, so, like...
Yeah, we had a discussion about it, I believe.
Did we?
We had we chatted about it on the podcast,
okay.
Yeah. I love that it felt good to do a really concise, nice sort of 15-minute episode, and now we've just gone on a tangent about... It's like we can't do it. It's like we physically can't do it.
Yeah, we were on track to finish in 15 minutes. So
inane bollocks for a while. Yeah. Right.
Anyway, I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll see you next week, or next time, as we discuss Secret Team.